I traveled the world with George Foreman 2 years. I had the best time with him.
He's awesome.
He's awesome. And I had talked a little bit about George, who said basically the same thing, that he liked to, when he was younger, he liked to hit people. He went into the ring to kill someone.
Every casual must have been like, oh, Ali's about to get fucking.
Well, you got to understand, man, George Foreman was a machine.
He started beating me up, and he looked at me with that same thought. George, is that all you got? I said, no, it's the lean, mean, fat-reducing grilling machine. And I knocked him out and became the oldest man to be heavyweight champ of the world.
The most powerful knockout artist in boxing history.
Dundee, Ali's trainer right next to me is saying it. You may hear him. Down goes Frazier!
The oldest heavyweight champion of all time, and an athlete who became a living symbol of the sport.
In some ways, maybe similar to Tyson, but I think he was stronger than Tyson in other ways.
Man, to get hit, and and I asked him, I said, what did he hit me with? I'm like, all I know, I got cracked, and I go, what did he hit me with?
It seems to me that of all the people I've seen hitting heavy bags, including Sonny Liston, no one ever hit it the way Foreman did.
Big George Foreman, a boxer who embodied his entire era. Opponents lost consciousness from his punches. He beat the best of the best, and he was so terrifying that even prime Mike Tyson wanted no part of him. It's time to dive into the golden age of boxing, an age ruled by knockouts, brutality, and madness. The age of George Foreman.
If every boxing match, world title match, would have ended like George Foreman Ron Lyle heavyweight title match, there wouldn't be any UFC.
Foreman grew up in Houston, Texas, in a poor family. As a teenager, he often found himself in trouble. But his life changed when he joined the Job Corps program, where he discovered boxing. In just 6 months, George rose quickly through the amateur ranks, winning Golden Gloves, and then capturing Olympic gold in the heavyweight division at the 1968 Mexico City Games.
You've got to remember what this guy achieved as a boxer, first of all. He won the Olympic, like you said, rightly said, in America, he's one of their greatest athletes. Won the Olympic gold for them in Mexico in 1968. As a real neophyte boxer.
That Olympic victory made him a national hero and opened the doors to a professional career.
I'm going to show whatever you say right now, and if you become world champion the day you do, I promise you this is going to be on the network. You tell me when you're going to be the world champion of the world. How tough is it?
71. Sometime in the year 71, you'll see a young man walking around the ring with a flag. I made it.
Luckily for boxing fans, Foreman's ambitions came true. Making his pro debut just half a year after the Olympics, he racked up 37 wins in a row, with only 3 of them going the distance.
You know how sometimes you see a horror film and they put a light in the eye? I see the eye light up. And the killer is there for an instant. I looked into the killer.
I've seen pictures of him in his prime. He's picking up a full-grown cow.
He was a bull. He was a beast. He was a beast.
Cow, he's pressing the floor.
But Foreman's secret wasn't just his freakish power. It was what he put into building it. Behind his terrifying success was a foundation of inhuman training. He lifted actual cows weighing hundreds of kilos. He dragged trucks behind him. He ran nearly 50 kilometers a day. He pushed his body to limits no man should survive. George Foreman was a physical anomaly in boxing, a man who molded himself into a monster through pain and discipline. And that's exactly why he was able to put people to sleep like it was nothing.
Let's talk about that guy first. Tell us about the young George Foreman.
Well, if you look at boxing as a continuum, he was somewhere between, he was the scary guy. So he's between Sonny Liston and Mike Tyson. And, Joe Frazier was about as tough a guy who's ever laced up.
Joe Frazier was a different kind of beast altogether. Even in the most violent heavyweight era, one ruled by legends, he had climbed to the very top.
Nobody was like that dude. I still maintain he's the greatest.
I remember Joe Frazier. He was the toughest guy I'd ever seen. Yeah. Smoking Joe Frazier. My mother watched him fight on television, and he hit a guy so hard the guy turned his back. And I kept thinking, I want to be champ of the world, but I sure hope Joe Frazier died.
George's going to be out there trying to win the title, and I'm going to be out there trying to hang on to it. I don't think you'll be interested in come out and see 2 friends shake hands. Joe Frazier and me, we'll declare war on that day. That's definitely.
Frazier was the undisputed heavyweight champion, the man who had defeated Muhammad Ali with 29 wins, 26 knockouts, and not a single loss. His mere presence struck fear into everyone.
If you miss him, he'd get upset, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? But I had this habit of staring guys down. I look them in the eye to psych them out. And this time, if they dropped their head, I knew I had an advantage, but I was hoping Joe Frazier wouldn't drop his head because my knees were shaking.
I think that this will be a great fight because I've already vowed the only way I come out the ring is the day before the end of the 15th round unvictorious is by way of a stretcher.
But the battle of these heavyweight monsters lasted only 2 rounds. Foreman beat Frazier with shocking ease. Less than 2 minutes into the fight, George stunned Joe with a vicious flurry of punches and then dropped him with a thunderous right uppercut.
The trainer right next to me is saying it. You may hear him. Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
Frazier got back up, but the beating only got worse. With 17 seconds left in the first round, Foreman landed another monstrous uppercut, putting Frazier to his knees again.
Foreman is all over Joe Frazier. Frazier is down again, and he may be. No,
with each earth-shattering blow, Foreman was stealing precious seconds off Joe's life clock. He dropped Frazier 3 times in round 1, and 3 more times in round 2. Finally, the referee stopped the slaughter and awarded Foreman a TKO victory, sparing Frazier from further punishment.
He put him down 6 times, and I think that really crystallized Foreman's reputation as invincible. Everybody, who's going to put down Joe Frazier 6 times, and it set up the Rumble in the Jungle, arguably as famous a fight as ever there was for Ali.
Before his legendary clash with Muhammad Ali, Foreman knocked out another Hall of Famer, Ken Norton.
His legs are rubbery as a left hand goes to the side of his head, a right uppercut, a left jab, and a vicious left sends Norton crumbling to the canvas.
In the golden era of heavyweight boxing, George Foreman was seen as the most dangerous man alive. 40 wins, 37 knockouts, 0 losses.
And you, George Foreman, all of you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him. All of you. I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Muhammad Ali, of course, didn't care about public opinion or odds. He was always loyal to his self-belief, even when most fans saw no possible way for him to beat Foreman.
So scared. Act like you're going to funeral. I'm the one fighting George Foreman. George Foreman. You didn't believe in all that stuff you've been reading about how hard he hit. George Foreman knocked down Joe Frazier. He'll destroy the kid. When you get out here, if you're afraid, just smile. Just act like you're happy. I'm not going to win the fight if I was out thinking like you. Damn George Foreman.
And then came one of the most iconic nights in boxing history, the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali didn't just win, he outsmarted Foreman.
Another sneaky right hand. This time he works over the shoulder of Foreman.
He got inside George's head, used a genius strategy, and delivered the first loss of Foreman's career.
I hit him so hard one time, right about the neck, and I heard him say, He was trying to win a boxing match. I was trying to kill that guy.
To prove he was still a force after that loss, Foreman fought 5 men in a single night, all exhibition bouts. Among them were Ali and Frazier's sparring partners and future world champions. It was George's way of reminding the world, I'm still the most powerful man in boxing.
The more you hurt someone, the more the people's gonna love you.
The more you hurt somebody, the more people are going to love you.
But after that loss, Foreman vanished from the ring for 15 months. The defeat and the mental toll it took hit him hard. When he finally returned, it was in a blood and guts war against vicious puncher Ron Lyle, a fight many call one of the greatest heavyweight battles of all time. In under 5 rounds, fans witnessed 5 knockdowns, with Foreman himself hitting the canvas twice. But in the end, George rose from the ashes and scored a brutal KO. The Ring magazine named it Fight of the Year in 1976, and to this day, it's often listed in the top 5 heavyweight fights of all time. After suffering a second loss, this time to Jimmy Young, Foreman lost more than a fight. He lost himself. He retired from boxing and turned deeply to faith and religion. But years later, George made a comeback, and before he would fight for the title again, he racked up 24 wins, 23 by knockout. Only 1 went to the judges.
You ever hit somebody similarly hard where you could see that happen to them?
My punching power was so, the first time around was so vicious that the second time around I wouldn't even throw those kind of punches anymore.
Even though Foreman was already in his 40s, an age most people consider unacceptable for a boxer, George kept shocking the world with his power. Faster, younger, more agile opponents might outpoint him on the scorecards, but Foreman only needed one shot, one punch to shut the lights out. It didn't matter how skilled or promising the contenders were, George always found that one opening, that one moment to unleash the bomb and shut it all down. That was the terrifying magic of Big George.
And they hit so hard that it vibrates your body, even if you block it, just goes right to you.
Yes, he suffered 2 more losses, one to Evander Holyfield and another to Tommy Morrison. But the issue was never George's skill. It was simply time. Even prime Evander Holyfield showed fear of George's power, while Tommy Morrison, a devastating puncher himself, completely avoided exchanges.
Loving left hand by Foreman, tries to follow with a right hand by Morrison. And again, Foreman takes it well. George comes back with the jab. Left hook lands for Morrison.
Sticking to an unusually cautious technical game plan. But for George, it was never about the fame or even the money. He lived boxing. And even at 45 years old, he still believed he could become champion again.
It will probably be the last time anyone will ever see me in a boxing ring. And I want to go out in grand style. I want to put that championship belt around my neck and walk on out of there real cool.
And then he did. It was a mission that seemed impossible, a goal nobody believed in. But remember what we said earlier about George's freakish power? That it could turn around even a fight he was losing badly? In 1994, the boxing world witnessed a miracle.
And it wasn't just coming back as a preacher and a pitchman and selling hamburgers or grills or whatever it was. It was more purposeful than any of us knew as far as boxing. The previous oldest heavyweight champion, I believe, was Jersey Joe Walcott, who won when he was 37. Foreman came back when he was just shy of his 46th birthday.
Foreman was matched up against Michael Moorer, a southpaw phenom, the undisputed top heavyweight of the time, who had beaten every name in the division.
Larry, let's turn to the subject of the champion, Michael Moorer. He deserves to be spoken of first. He's done nothing wrong, won all 35 of his fights. In the moment of truth, won the heavyweight championship from Evander Holyfield.
George stepped into the ring for what was his 3rd shot at the world title. Moorer was the obvious favorite. 19 years younger, faster, sharper. But none of that fazed a man who once fought Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier in their primes. George was outclassed in speed, footwork, and volume. Moorer's entire plan was to frustrate George with his angles and stance, landing clean while staying out of danger. And to be fair, it was working. But Foreman had one plan: knock him out. Nobody could figure out how George was planning to win.
Well, you see Michael Moorer doing what he did really for 9 rounds, landing jabs, landing right hooks over the jab of Foreman. He was winning this fight handily on 2 of the 3 scorecards and should have been.
But he did the unthinkable. He used Ali's own tactics against Moorer. He leaned back, absorbed the damage, showed Moorer he was in control, while secretly waiting for that one golden second. And when it came, boom! A simple 1-2 combo, and Moorer was out cold.
Atlas, here we go again with the Atlas. Michael Moorer is down, goes Moorer on a right hand.
Yeah, I was going to put a few little ones in there to taste them, but short and crisp. And he would start to think, oh, that didn't hurt. And then eventually lay a hard one in with a little body English to it and just lay in there hard. And then I knew if I knocked him down once, he wasn't going to get up past the 10th round.
George Foreman had done it. He pulled off the biggest upset in heavyweight history, and in doing so, he became the oldest world champion in the history of boxing.
I'm going to really miss it, knowing that someone else is going to have it when I leave. It's going to be hard to go. I'm going to jump up in the night and miss it. You know, when I see you guys following another great champion, I'm going to drop a tear or two. You don't want to miss the fireworks.
That's the story of Big George, a man who defined an era, a legendary knockout artist, a symbol of resilience, power, and greatness. The name Big George Foreman is written in gold across the history of boxing forever.